Yoda guys, welcome back to the Black Jersey. My name's Max. I'm the host of this channel. Today, I've got one of the best rugby content creators that's out there. He's been going since about 2018 or so, and he's just been taking the world by storm with keeping everyone up to date with scores, starting a few world club rankings, and of course, bringing us all the essential news in the game all independently. I'd like my guest to introduce himself.
Hey Max, cheers. My name's Corey. I run the Rugby Centre Instagram page. Don't know if I would say one of the best, but there's a lot of great content creators out there. But yeah, it's passion for the game that makes me do it, and yeah, I just love stats. I love rugby, and just enjoy getting the news out there.
Yeah, it's awesome to have you on the channel, mate. So we'll get to know a few things about Corey, how he started the Rugby Centre, and for any aspiring content creators, we'll have a few tips on growing yourself on Instagram coming your way, courtesy of the man I've got on my right or left, depending on which way Zoom orients us. So to start things off, mate, we'll get the audience to learn about how you got hooked on rugby. So what exactly introduced you to the game?
Yeah, actually, it would have been about 2016, I'd say. Sorry, 2006, not 2016, 2006. Um, I had just moved back from the States to Ireland, and I was over at a friend's house, and I just happened to catch a glimpse. I think it was actually Ireland versus South Africa in Dublin, and Ireland was beating South Africa, and I was like, "Oh, a sport we're actually good at." And then kind of from there, my interest in it started to grow and grow. I started learning the rules. Towards the end of 2016, actually started playing rugby for the first time. So I was about 16 years old when I started playing. Or 2006, sorry. I was about 16 years old when I started playing. And then just from there, the passion for it just keeps growing and never dies.
Yeah, love it, my man. So with telling the audience about how you've done as a player and stuff, what kind of position have you played? What kind of teams you played for since I guess leaving high school, stuff like that.
Yeah, so I never really played in high school. I've played pretty much anywhere kind of in the back line, kind of put center, out half would probably be my more specialist positions. Um, I think for rugby for me has always been more of a social sport. I've never been the most athletic of people. So, I've always enjoyed it for the social scene and just again, I love the game. I want to learn more about the game. And for me, the best way to learn the sport was to play it. And you make so many friends playing sports and stuff. Just wanted to keep going. Like I'm 32 years old now and I'm still playing. I've played for a few clubs in Ireland and I'm playing out now in Abu Dhabi as well.
So good to hear that, mate. Always good to continue into the adulthood and stuff. Instead of
Yeah.
thinking about sport at a young age. But as the world of social media is becoming more important and stuff, sports, you've managed to evolve, as I said, into one of the best content creators in the sport. When we take things back to the start, though, mate, what actually gave you the idea, I guess, to start the Rugby Centre?
Yeah, I suppose it was kind of 2008. 2018. Yeah, we were coming up to about the 2019 World Cup in Japan. And I noticed there wasn't very many dedicated Irish content creators for rugby. There wasn't anyone really bringing Pro 14 news regularly. There was one or two pages, but they were more dedicated towards certain teams than others. And my kind of goal was to try and bring a page that was unbiased as much as possible. Obviously, look, I am Irish. I support Leinster, and I tend to I tend to display that quite often. But I try and give as much coverage to as many teams as possible. And I think the URC or Pro 14 as it was at the time is a fantastic competition, and it's growing from strength to strength. And I felt that it just needed more attention out in the world of rugby.
Yeah, pretty fair comments there. So when we talk about gaining, I guess, an initial following, I'm also just keen to get you to talk us through how things began in the rugby centre's early days. So I guess an audience can learn how things started with I guess growing everything.
Yeah, it's I'd say for any kind of content, anyone who's trying to get into content creation, The first little while is always going to be the hardest.
Yeah.
Trying to get people's attention. You're looking at what other content creators are doing and trying to mimic what you're seeing is getting results. And I think you kind of tend to get away from what you're actually trying to achieve by doing that. For me, I found the most success through being myself and posting what I would find interesting. And that generally will brings like-minded people to you. Um, Getting involved in other pages, commenting on other pages' content, engaging with people is probably the key factor to it. But you've probably noticed that as well. When you engage with people, you get great engagement back.
Yeah, dude. It's always good to like reply to people's comments and stuff because I think a lot of the
Yeah.
audience they really appreciate it when you actually come to show them the love and stuff, eh? Like sometimes I get kids who are like, "Oh my God, you replied," things like that. It's a bit of a crack up, eh, bro?
Yeah, like listen, like the Instagram page is nothing without the audience, I can be posting all the content in the world, but if people aren't engaging with it and I'm not engaging with them, then what's the point?
Exactly, mate. Really good stuff there that you've told the audience. So, in the early days, did you really put together a growth strategy, or was the process more of an organic
It
process, kind of a trial and error, learning on the job process?
it was definitely trial and error. Definitely trial and error. As I said, I kind of started off the page focusing very much so on Irish rugby, which it is quite a small market
Mm,
in terms of the rugby world. The Irish market is very small. And it slowly kind of grew out to being a Pro 14. And at one stage, I jumped into covering everything very quickly before I had really understood how to cover content.
mm.
And I found I stretched myself very thin. I was missing games. I was missing certain content that I wanted to post. So I just had to stop myself and say, right, I need to rein this in, settle down, and focus on one league that I really want to kind of cover. But definitely trial and error. I've no training in any of the tools I use, so it was just, oh, let me Google this and try this and see what works, see what people take to.
Yeah, you learn on the job, eh, mate? Are you keen to offer
Yeah,
some insight and stuff also into things like your graphic design in terms of stuff like software that you use?
yeah, of course. I think the main one I use is Photoshop, and that's probably the one that a lot of the content creators use.
Guilty is charged.
Yeah. There are other alternatives out there. I know Photoshop can be quite expensive for people. I think I can't think of any of the others off the top of my head, but there is one very similar Photoshop-like application that's pretty decent. But for me, I felt Photoshop was the best because there was plenty of content out there in terms of learning how to do it. I studied IT and electronic engineering in college, so I had no graphical design background at all.
Yeah.
So I just had to kind of pick it up as I went.
Fair enough, mate. So as a creator who has kind of made his mission to give the rugby fans a one-stop shop for team sheets, news results, obviously the World Club rankings, couple memes here and there to give everyone a bit of a
Yeah.
giggle. What kind of feedback do you usually end up with when you're posting material like this?
Um, Definitely spelling mistakes.
Oh,
Definitely spelling mistakes.
yeah,
No,
for
I generally get pretty good feedback. Um, I like when people kind of come to me with questions of like, especially around the world rankings, like why did such and such a team drop, or how does this work? Why are someone getting more points than other people, even though they had a bigger result? Um, and I will generally I've great time for people who ask that sort of stuff, and I try and give as much information as I can to them without getting too technical, but with what
yeah,
I'm doing behind the scenes.
yeah,
Um, but I generally get pretty good feedback from people. You know yourself, you're always going to get the odd negative bit of feedback, and you kind of have to just take it in your stride. You're always going to get people who are going to give you something negative, and you have to try and not take it personally.
yeah, good stuff, mate. So the World Club rankings, we keep mentioning it over and over again. We better get to it. So that system you have is one that a lot of people have taken notice of. I seem to see that
Mm.
that's where you get the most of your attention. So I'm well aware you're keen to see a Club World Cup. You want to see this kind of Leinster versus Crusaders thing.
It's gotta
What
happen.
got you? What inspired you though to talk World Club rankings, and what kind of methods do you actually use to count this wee feature that the people all love so much?
Yeah, so I think, it kind of came down to like, it's something people kind of wanted to see. Like we always talk about, oh, my club is better than your club, especially across leagues. And Super Rugby doesn't clash with the Northern Hemisphere leagues at all.
Mm,
I know we've had the odd one-off friendlies here and there, or like preseason games, but there's never been, a competitive game between Leinster Crusaders or, Blues and Toulouse. We just don't see it nowadays, or we've never seen it. And, for me, it was like, okay, well, statistically, we see who the best side in the world is on an international level via a ranking system. Why couldn't we do that via a club ranking system? So I kind of, in terms of methodology, I kind of set about, I gathered up all the data from since the 2019 Rugby World Cup in terms of results. I have a bit of an algorithm in the back that's very similar to what World Rugby use
mm.
for the international rankings. And I just pop in every week's results, and I've got a kind of spreadsheet in the background that does all the calculations for me. So anytime I've seen club rankings in the past, it's kind of, I feel like so and so is better than another team. There's never been any kind of statistical data behind it, but my one is all results based. So if you win a game, you're likely going to go up in the rankings. If you lose a game, you're definitely going to go down in the rankings. So it's
So
unbiased and it's what the results say.
just to interrupt you there, mate. So just with how it's working. So what you did with the collection of the data, you pretty much like gathered the tables from post World Cup 2019 onwards, and you use
Um,
the same I guess method of counting as those tables. Just clarify.
no, so I took the results of the actual fixed results of every single fixture since 2019.
Okay, yeah.
I've got it in a spreadsheet, and that does works off the algorithm then. So it took me probably took me about 3 or 4 weeks just to gather all the results for like because I did like 3 years all in one go.
Yeah.
Because I only thought about this maybe this time last year.
Hmm.
And I started gathering all the data for it. So it took me about a good 3 or 4 weeks to get all the results together.
Love the dedication, man. No, good to have that clarified because
Yeah.
obviously I always have yarns to you about it, and so do the followers, things like that. Speaking of the analysis side of everything, you've started bringing some analytics into your feed recently, and I've really enjoyed seeing the match ratings and stats for tests on your story, things like that. Is
Mm.
kind of also a recent feature you got going? Was this kind of always an expansion plan of yours?
So I will admit I kind of got the idea from a journalist here from Ireland, Rory O'Connor. I think he writes for the Irish Times, and he kind of just threw it up as a kind of one-off thing that he did. I think was it after the Springbok game maybe? And
Probably.
the idea kind of the idea kind of clicked at me because I used to do player rankings after international games,
Hmm.
and it always felt to me like, you know, rugby's a team game. It's not an individual player performance. Some
Hmm.
guys are going to have off days here and there, but it doesn't impact the overall team performance.
Hmm.
So I was like, well, the idea he gave me, or sorry, the idea that he had was kind of the bare bones of what I did. So now after games, I go and look at all the stats from the games. And I break down all the stats that I look at. Obviously, there's kind of ones that you can't put on, you can't write out. It's like, you know, Italy may have 400 meters gained, but they're 400 meters in their own half. So that
Yeah.
doesn't mean they're better in attacking than another team. So there's some stuff that's hard to actually put on the graphic, but I try and put as much as I can.
it's always about like the context of the stats as well. Like I have yarns to a few
Mm.
people about this. You do have to kind of get the coinciding going, like what's going on with the penalties and the score margin, things like that. It's always going to come back to something that's been tactical, eh?
Yeah, like listen, like a team can concede 5 tries, but it doesn't mean they've been horrendous defensively. They
Mm,
probably have been, but it doesn't always mean like, a bounce of a ball doesn't mean a team has had a horror show in defense. It just
mm.
mean it meant they got unlucky once or twice.
Yeah.
So, you have to kind of factor those things in when you're giving the overall ranking for what a defense or an offense or, set piece might be.
I mean, especially over here with the All Blacks, our attack structure was not looking very good a year ago, mate.
No, it's gotten better though. It's gotten better as it progressed through the winter or through November.
Thank you, Joe Schmidt. Thank you for giving them back to us, mate. We really appreciate it. We appreciate it. Yeah,
Yeah.
as I've said in private messages, you deserve to have a big year in 2022. So you can correct me if I'm wrong here, okay, mate? So as far as I'm aware, your follower count went from like 20K to 33K after the Six Nations in 2022. For guys in the audience that are keen to be content creators, I'll just see what tips that Corey has on social media growth when it comes to actually getting an already established audience and just making it pop.
Yeah, look, again, it's about sticking true to who you want to be as a content creator. You don't want to be, again, trying to copy other people's content. I think just after the Six Nations last year is when the global rankings came out, so that obviously helped. But again, it was true to me. I wanted to be statistical, I wanted to be analytical, and it was an area that nobody else was covering. I saw it as an opportunity for growth. Um, but you go through ebbs and dips when it comes to gaining followers in Instagram or in any kind of social media. Like I think I jumped up to 33 by April last year, and I've been kind of pretty consistent at 33 now since. You have to not let that get to you because you will go through moments where you'll get big bursts of followers, and you just have to enjoy the ride while you get it, and then stay consistent in periods where you're not, and try and come up with new ideas.
Yeah, those are pretty much perfect responses there, mate. You definitely do have the periods where you go up and down and up and down,
Yeah.
and you overall rise easily. It gets to a bit of a funny graph like that. Something that's been real crucial in building your following as well. Also, we keep mentioning it's interactions with the followers, of course.
Yeah.
Even after attaining 33,000 on Instagram, you've got a pretty decent Discord server, and you're still able to respond to all these. What can people expect to see when they join your Discord? I'll link that in the description.
Yeah, so Discord is a great place, and I actually have a couple of guys on that who are helping me out. They were just followers of mine who were some of the first people that joined the Discord. When you get spread out across multiple platforms, whether it be Instagram, Discord, TikTok, whatever you're getting yourself into, it can be very hard to respond to everything. I don't do this full time. I don't do content creation full time. I have a full time job. So especially when it comes to the likes of Discord, I rely on those guys massively to help me out, and they're absolutely fantastic for it. And then when I get back to kind of like the Instagram, obviously the Instagram is me and who I am and who I'm trying to present
Hmm.
out there. So that I try my hardest to kind of just respond to as many messages as I can, respond to as many comments as I can. I do fall behind. I'm guilty of it. You go through periods where you're busy in work, you go through periods where you're just busy with life. But I do try and catch up with people as much as possible.
As long as it's those DMs that you're getting on top of, I think you're all good, eh, mate?
Yeah,
The
exactly.
other side of on the other side of the coin though, as we know, we do know that some comment sections can get a bit crazy. Like I saw that I guess when Razzie Erasmus got his 3 month was ban. You probably saw that when the Crusaders dipped a few days ago after my mighty Chiefs defeated them.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
what kind of mental health tips have you got for aspiring content creators when things get a bit negative and stuff like that?
Yeah, look, it's the internet. Things are always gonna, as you build up audiences, things are always gonna get negative. You can't help it. You look at any kind of social media influencer or anyone, YouTube, Instagram, whatever, everyone talks about this. Um, for me, I try not to let things get personal. You
Mm,
know, like some people have a bad day when their team loses. Some people are very passionate about who they support, whether it's their country or their club. I just try not to let it get personal. Sometimes I try and make it a bit funny. Someone leaves a nasty comment and I'll leave a funny response to it. It kind of really depends on what it is. But once you start letting that stuff get into your head, that's when it really starts affecting you. Um, you know, you don't know these people. At the end of the day, when you're a content creator, you're doing it for yourself. You're doing it because you enjoy what you do. Um, I just tend to leave that stuff behind me as much as possible.
exactly, my man. It's why the block tool's the best tool that Instagram's got.
It
Now,
is. It
yeah.
is.
Now that
But
we're
luckily,
oh, sorry,
I've
sorry.
not had.
Continue.
Yeah, luckily I've not had to block too many people, which has been good. Um, like I've gotten crap from some people. I've given them just as good crap back for the fun of it.
Yeah,
A lot of the times people come back to you and apologize for what they said, whether it's DM or on a comment.
yeah.
People say things in the heat of the moment, and you kind of just have to accept that when you're getting into this space.
No, good to hear you say that. Sorry there, mate. Jumped the gun a bit with the next question and all that.
No worries.
But yeah, everyone's excited. We're in a World Cup year. This is going to be absolutely massive for many creators out there, including you and I.
Mm.
So, what new features can we expect for entertaining the fans on your part, mate?
Oh man, it's one that there's endless opportunities, and it's just how do I make it all?
Yeah,
Um, I'm looking kind of at some of the things I'm looking at doing is kind of a guidebook or kind of a guide to the Rugby World
very
Cup. So maybe kind of some stats and information about all the 20 teams that are taking part. Um, there's a new kind of statistical analysis page that has come up recently called React Rugby.
mm,
I'm in conversations with them about getting some stats and analysis of some of the bigger teams, which is going to allow me to do more detailed content, say like on the All Blacks, Springboks, Ireland, whoever it might be, and might do some prediction videos of based off the back of that of how teams might do.
yeah, have a go.
Um, I'm going to try and get some funny stuff out there as well
Mm,
because you got to do the funny things. But as
yeah,
of right now, I don't know what that's going to be. The focus, I've said to myself, I was going to focus on the Six Nations because even though we're in a World Cup year, that's still a massively important tournament,
mm,
and I think it still deserves respect
yeah.
that it needs to get.
I mean, not covering the Six Nations as a content creator is pretty much career suicide at this point,
Yeah,
mate.
it is. It is. So, I wanted to put focus into that one, and then I have a couple of ideas jotted down, but I haven't really started doing anything yet for the World Cup. That's going to come probably now in about 2 weeks' time.
All good, mate. Good stuff. Your passion for the game, that's huge, mate. Have you got any plans, I guess, to work in the field of rugby in the future to share with followers? I know you've got a partnership with Vio, who's a AI camera company going right now. So that's one step in the right direction, that's for sure, mate.
Yeah, yeah. So that I just actually announced today, which is a massive deal for me. I've followed them for quite a while,
Mm.
and what they bring for the club game is fantastic.
Yeah.
Letting clubs be able to do the analysis that was only really available to international or big clubs.
Mm.
So that's an exciting one that I'm hoping to make something out of. Um, as for otherwise, Instagram is kind of where I'm at. I have no really plans to kind of go off with any of the bigger, the ball carriers or the rugby passes or anything like that. I like being myself and presenting myself on the Instagram page. So that's my plan for now.
Yeah, really respects just the straight direction of remaining independent, my man. That's I think
Yeah.
what gives the rugby centre the charm that it's got. And finally, just before we wrap things up, mate, do you have like any more tips that you can think of regarding social media growth to share with the audience that's watching us?
Again, I think I've said it once or twice now. It's just stay true to yourself. You know, if you're not passionate about the content you're creating, you're not going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And if you're not enjoying what you're doing, your audience is going to know that because you'll miss your regular post schedules. You'll miss, content that you should be posting about. Um, just try to keep regular. Try and set yourself a schedule of what you want to post and when you want to post it. You'll notice from my page, Mondays are generally results and tables. Tuesdays are my club rankings. Wednesdays are normally international fixtures. Thursdays are club fixtures, and then Fridays a lot of stories around results and maybe the odd couple of memes here and there. Stay regular, stay true to who you want to be, and you should see your growth happen. It's going to take time, but you just have to accept that fact.
Wise words from the wise man himself. Thank you to you guys in the audience for coming along to watch this wee podcast. Always good to have one of the best content creators in the game come along and join me. Thank you for joining me, Corey. Been a pleasure to have you on, mate. I'll link his Instagram and his Discord in the description for everybody in a pinned comment, perhaps maybe. I'll see what goes on with that. And
No,
yeah, cheers, everyone.
yeah, cheers for having me, Max, man. I appreciate it. It's always good to have a chat with you.
Cheers. Thank you.
Yeah.